Today we are talking about how physical product companies can compete in the SDX world, where products are not just physical today, they are software defined, intelligent, and connected. With me is Sreenivasa Chakravarti, Vice President and Head of Digital Engineering, where he has deep expertise in helping the industries in transforming to this shift. So welcome, Srini.
Good morning. Thank you.
Sorry. Srini, what does SDX mean for physical product companies, and why do the products need to be software defined and intelligent to stay competitive?
If you look at the origin of industry, we have always looked at product as a physical entity and services as a capability to be provided around the product. If we trace back engineering for the last few decades, till about 2000 or even early 2000s, it was still about physical engineering. But as technology advanced, even when you look at essential embedded technology, we could see with the evolution initially with mobile phones, the technology could actually get embedded into the product, right? Once that capability is embedded into the product, the intelligence started to come in. So you can in some ways start calling it as early stage of digital intelligence. And when IoT came up, you could actually extract that intelligence and build a services layer on top of it. So in TCS, we call it as digital intelligence in physical context, which means that you are now able to couple the physical performance of the product with an intelligence layer. Further advancement in semiconductor technologies and VLSI custom SoCs, which now are embedded into the products, allow you one more level of abstraction. We are now able to create a hardware layer and a software layer. What that does is, apart from the intelligence, it is also allowing you to provide personalization in the first place, because the way you may want to use a product, especially let's say it's a consumer device, versus the way I would like to use a product is going to be different. The software layer allows for that. But going deeper into the industrial world, it also allows, for example, understanding of the behavior of the product, or you want to add a feature, then through the service over the air updates, feature updates can also be provided without a physical intervention, which allows you to upgrade, refresh the product from time to time in very much the same way as we experience on our mobile phones, as an example, which makes the product contemporary and competitive. So effectively what you're doing is you're providing a longevity and extending the product life cycle by bringing in features from time to time, instead of getting locked with a one-time physical product release. Also from a customer satisfaction perspective, if you were to have bought in a physical product, then you are stuck with it. Now you are able to buy a product with the promise that you will get upgrades from time to time, which allow you to remain competitive in the field. I think those are some of the dimensions which have changed the game on the physical versus the digital world. Actually, that boundary is dissolved, and we can now see both worlds coming together, right? Digital engineering, software engineering, combined with the mechanical, electrical, electronics properties of products to provide for better customer value.
So just to quickly summarize, you are saying one, you are decoupling software and hardware, right? So,
Yes.
and also you are making the complete refreshment over the air upgrades of the
Correct.
software, and the intelligence is also bringing personalization, self-learning of the products.
That's right.
Yeah, nice. So, but on this context, There are sectors, right? Consumer electronics and automotive is in the journey of the SDX, but there are many traditional industries where they have more physical products. According to you, how do you think that they should start their SDX journey?
The journey of SDX, if you look at it, is not a recent one. First of all, it may have been a little uh, hardware centric. Percentage value of hardware may have been higher in earlier days. It's probably getting equalized today. Uh, if you look at the bill of materials, the 50% of products most companies are claiming has actually software or electronics content, which means that a lot of things have changed, which means your value chain has completely been reimagined. Now, that also means that your traditional tier 1 suppliers or tier 2 suppliers are no longer the same set. Now you have a software set that is come with it. Second is that they are moving closer. As an OEM, you could have an opportunity saying, whom do I partner with? Do I do it myself? Also, it allows you what we traditionally in supply chain used to call it as postponement strategy, which means that you actually just create the framework and you can bring in the software much later in the journey also. So all of these are creating dynamics around the value chain behavior and the operating model. We are seeing the emergence of tier 0.5
Yeah.
and in comparison to traditional 1 and 2 only,
Yeah.
which is because they're moving much more closer into the product environment. Now, all of this requires a change in terms of the organization that is handling this value chain, first of all. They should be comfortable and competent to deal with the latest tech and not just the traditional tech. In addition, the solutions that are required to enable this software layer on the physical product requires an agile platform, because you are going to continuously build and deploy. Third is, once you release the product into the market, the story does not end. Actually, the story begins, because now you're going to continuously get feedback from your end users and say, you know what, I'm going to put more features onto it, which means that your CI/CD principle comes into play, and you're going to launch more features based on the demand. Or if you want to preempt competition, you may want to add a new feature. You may also do like some other companies are doing, feature on demand, right? The pay-per-use model. So all of these means that it is now a continuous enterprise. It is not a one-way flow of the value chain from procurement to assembly, manufacture assembly, and then shipment, and then it goes to the end customer. But today there is a continuous engagement on this value chain, which means that if you have to shift from the purely physical world of engineering and manufacturing into a software-defined world, your organization design has to undergo a change. That's the big shift. So technology is one shift, but organization change management to deal with this technology embedded onto the physical world is a bigger change.
So is there any cultural aspects where companies has to look into beyond the organization design?
Organization, if you look at it, there is a very different approach to AI enabled or software defined capabilities. For example, these capabilities actually come from ecosystems. They are no longer only invented at home.
Yeah.
So you need partners, not just suppliers, but partners.
Yeah.
You will work with those partners, for example, through the APIs that you're going to build. And they will also have access to the product. They will also provide certain services on top of the product. So these are new revenue streams in some ways. So your chief commercial officer, for example, also would now need to get involved to say, traditionally, I would have got my revenue from the sale of the product and then the after sale services part of it. But today I have an opportunity to actually generate an annuity. Then if you look at that, your balance sheet undergoes a change. From a one-time capex sale to actually maybe in some cases you might have an opex sale. When I mean what I mean by an opex sale is you're actually going to give the product to the end customer and they will pay on a per usage based model. Like for example, let's say if a car and you are promising that as long as the car runs or based on the miles of use, you pay me.
Yeah.
I'm saying that could be revolutionary, but that changes the game. Somebody might try it. Now, when you look at that dimension coming in, you will need a complete cultural shift.
Yeah.
Because the organization has to gear up with dynamics which you are not used to before. Right? For example, you have to look at now how do you steady the revenue streams?
Yeah.
Right? How are you going to run your investment cycles? And you also need to look out at what competition is going to do next. Suddenly they will come up with a feature and you'll say, okay, I need to launch it. You need to reprioritize. You need to get into those design sessions and look at rapid launch. So if mentally we were all geared up to say launches will take 4 years, in case of pharma it would take 7 years.
Yeah.
We have seen now that discovery cycle time, the NPI as we would call it, is completely crashed. And people are now talking about 1 year cycles. That's a cultural shift. Because not just the tools with which you work, which is the physical part of it, but the mindset with which you operate requires a completely new DNA.
Yeah.
And that's the cultural shift.